Get started here. We are going to go ahead and call this meeting to order, 6 p.m. October 21st, 2024. We're going to start off with a flag salute. Director Harris.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very much. Director Harris. We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this area, the Snohomish people and their successors, the Kalaliq tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered, and taken care of these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people, their stories, and their voices to form a more just and equitable society. All right, we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we're going to conduct the oath of office for Dr. David Burgess, interim superintendent, and I will be presenting that. Can put a podium in. I think you know the drill. Done this probably a few times. So I don't know if you want to speak into the mic. I don't know if it's important that our Zoom members hear this. All right, so you just repeat after me. I, Dave C. Burgess,
I, David C. Burgess,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States
that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States,
and that I will faithfully and impartially perform and discharge the duties of the office. And that I will faithfully and impartially perform and discharge
and I will faithfully perform and discharge the duties of the office
of Marysville School District number 25
of Marysville School District number 25
as interim superintendent
as interim superintendent
through June 30th, 2025,
through June 30th, 2025,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
and in accordance with the law.
and in accordance with the law.
All right. Thank you very much.
That was a stretch there, that big long.
Yeah, there was a lot.
I
love your words. Sorry.
It was just one line.
I had trouble with that one too.
All right, next up, we'll go through the superintendent's report.
Great. Just want to share that in my visits to elementary schools for this next 2 weeks, I'll attend all elementary schools. I'm just overwhelmed with the positivity that I see of our teachers, their absolute love for their buildings, their
Recording in
students.
progress.
And it is just heart-filling to be there. I shared with you earlier that I'm a passionate advocate for K-12 education, and every visit that I take just simply reinforces that. And this presentation tonight, wow. So I do want to share with our public and the board that last week, Director Harris and myself attended a meeting with the city leadership. And We discussed in detail the land swap that had been signed agreement sometime last school year. And of course, we reiterated our commitment to that. And that is moving ahead, and they just are going out to bids on that. So that's one thing. The other thing I want to share with the board is we have 3 community nights where we're inviting all public members to attend our school closure discussion. Very important for us. I want to share with the group here tonight that since 2010, we've recorded a student enrollment of 11,500 students. Today, our student enrollment is right at 9,000. So over that period of time, we are down 2,500 students. We have made no commensurate reduction in our building footprints and some of the other areas that we needed to address. And of course, that is something we've been directed to do by the Financial Oversight Committee, is to move forward and do systemic change so that we have a budget that is in alignment with the actual revenue that we are generating. These are very painful decisions, and we want to make sure that every member of our public gets a chance to have authentic participation in this. There are no decisions that have been made right now, other than the fact that our target would be somewhere in the savings range of $1 to $2.5 million is our goal. So, and I'm suggesting that that could be accomplished through the consolidation, maybe 2 to 3 elementary schools, if that's the wishes of our public and board, or in addition, a possible closure of 1 middle school. Again, if that is the decision of the community members and the board of directors. So no decisions have been made about that. I would never participate in inviting our public to a meeting where the decision has already been made. That is not going to happen during my tenure. So with that said, there are a lot of things going on in this district, and I'm really happy to be here and try to make a contribution.
Thank you very much. We're gonna move on to bullet point H, communications and reports. Student, staff, and community recognition comes first. And we're gonna start off with Seroptimus, September Students of the Month. This is gonna be presented by Shannon Murray, Seroptimus representative. Hey, Shannon. I don't know if it's turned on.
Yeah, you have to click the top.
Good evening. Dr. Divergence, school board members, and members of the community. As Mr. Krebs said, my name is Shannon Murray, and I represent the Seroptimus International of Marysville. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Seroptimus, we're a local chapter of a global volunteer organization supporting and empowering women and girls through education and training. Each month, we interview several high school seniors, boys and girls, who've been nominated by their teachers and counselors as outstanding individuals. For September, we interviewed students from both, September is Marysville Ketchel High School, and October is Marysville Pilchuck High School, and my associate will be introducing them. The Student of the Month award, for that, our committee judges the students not only on their academics, but also on leadership, community service, which is so important to our group, and pride in their work. And today I'm honored to recognize and introduce to you our selection for the September Students of the Month. So first I would like to call up Sam Gooch. Sam was recognized not only for academics, he's involved in sports medicine classes American Sign Language is an interest of his, and advanced leadership. And he's used some of those leadership skills in his sports, particularly wrestling, and he's also captain of the football team. One of the things that struck our committee was his answer to our standard question of how do you want to be remembered for your high school years? And Sam's answer was that he wanted to be remembered for standing up for others. That's very important to him, especially students who can't stand up for themselves. So we were really moved by that. And I'm going to ask Sam to tell a little bit about one of his projects, which is Leah's Dream Foundation.
Hi, I'm Sam. Nice to meet all of you guys. One thing that I'm really passionate about is the Leah's Dream Foundation. If you guys don't know what that's about, they raise money for adults and children with autism. Personally, my brother, he has autism. It was a struggle for him in high school. So Leah's Dream Foundation, they throw parties. It's kind of a weird way of saying it, but it's just kind of like a gathering of games and fun activities for all the adults and children in the community that just don't have anybody there, throughout high school and throughout their life. You just give them a friend. A lot of people that I'm friends with volunteer there, so that's a little bit about Leah's Dream. They're a great foundation. Plans for after high school. I'd like to attend a 4-year university. My top choice right now is University of Hawaii. Go live the island life for a little bit. I think that would be really fun. And family and guests. I have my beautiful mom over there, Janny, and my sister Gracie, and then another couple people that are with me. There's Ray Sheldon and Amy Sheldon, which is right there.
Thank you, Sam. And we have a certificate for you. Congratulations. We'll have some time for photos afterwards, I believe. So the next student I would like to call up is our other student from Marysville Getchell, Amanda Burton. Amanda is an excellent student. She has a 4.0 GPA, and sometimes that's not as impressive as you would think, but Amanda is taking AP History, AP Bio, AP English, AP Government, Health, and doing American Sign Language. So a 4.0 is just incredible. Leadership is very important to her. She's involved in various leadership activities through cheerleading, and she's also going to be the captain of the track team this year. She works with the ASB as a communications officer. She's in charge of their Instagram program. And the thing that struck us most about Amanda is her can-do attitude. She's always one of those people who jumps in and fills a need when she sees it. So we were really impressed by that. And I'm going to ask Amanda to tell a little bit about her Asian and Pacific Islander Student Union activities. And maybe also, she also did a project with coordinating a suicide prevention and awareness day.
Hi everyone. So my freshman year, I'm assuming now, but my freshman year, me and like 4 other people helped to find Asian and Pacific Islander Student Union. We really felt it was a need. And we did a couple activities throughout the year, but my junior year, it kind of fell through. There wasn't an advisor. We didn't have staff members supporting it. And there was a big need for an assembly because all the other cultural clubs did have one, and people were asking me about it, and I was like, I'll see what I can do. And so I got a couple people together, I asked around, and I got it to happen, and it was a huge struggle. We didn't have much support from staff or from the school because we've never had one at our school before. So people just couldn't imagine what it was like. And it happened, and we got a lot of positive feedback from it. I had like, I know Mr. Zimmerman was flying to me after it was over, and all of my favorite teachers, they were just coming and supporting me and saying how amazing it was. And I really hope that this year and for years on that we do have that continuing. And for Suicide Prevention Month, I just really realized that it's an important topic, and I feel like as a school district, we don't talk about it enough. And so I got the word out. I started talking with Ms. Lindsay and getting some small actions to happen. And I hope as the years go on, more and more gets done.
Thank you. That is really wonderful. Aside from her schoolwork and all of these other events that she's helping to coordinate, Amanda also volunteers. She's done work with Food Drive and working with a Big and Little Buddies program at Liberty Elementary, I believe. And that kind of ties into her plans for a career after high school too. So I'm gonna ask her to tell a little bit about that.
So growing up, I've always had an interest in working with kids. I've never had a younger sibling, but through cheer, we do like these little charter cheer camps, and it's just made me realize how much I love hanging out with little kids, and they're just they're so like full of joy, and it's just amazing to see. And they look up to us as like being these amazing human beings. And I decided to volunteer with Liberty Elementary this year as part of their Big Little program, and I absolutely love it. So I hope to continue that in my career in the future. I want to go to a 4-year, and if it's not education, maybe just something in the social science field.
And do you have anyone here you'd like to introduce?
Yes, I'm here with my mom and my dad. They're right over there.
Thank you. And we have an award for you. Excellent. And now I'm going to introduce Denise Rocket, who's also on the Seroptimus group, and she interviewed all of the October students from Marysville Pilchuck High School.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I had the pleasure of introducing or interviewing and selecting our first student. I'm going to have Alassa Maple. Now, Alassa is an outstanding candidate. The first thing that impressed me was that she's bilingual in English and Mongolian, which was just so interesting. She is a great student, and on top of her high school studies, she's pursuing her associate's degree at Everett Community College. She has been holding down several jobs while she's been working, one including helping with her family's business, and so that was really impressive to stay in touch and, help your family and support them as well. There were so many things on her volunteer. I counted, there were 10 things that she's been volunteering with. So I asked her, what were your top 3? And she said, ASB, Key Club, and Asian Student Union. And one of the things that impressed me most about the Key Club, that she's the president, founder, and editor. And you talked a little bit about how your involvement in the National Honor Society, how that led to why you found the Key Club. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we have a charter at MP of National Honor Society, and so with National Honor Society, you can only be a member if you fill out a resume and interview during the spring. And not everyone is selected because it's based on GPA and other things. And so with NHS being super exclusive, I felt like NHS has such great foundations of building leadership and community service and stuff like that. So I was me and my friends were talking about it, and then we just decided that maybe Key Club would be a good thing because I think Marysville could just use more community, and so we just came up with adding Key Club to MP. Yeah.
Is there one that stands out that do you want to talk a little bit about another one of the 10 things that you've been
So I guess Okay, so I joined Asian Student Union at MP during my freshman year, and then I had only been going to like a few meetings every now and then because I wasn't able to transport myself. But then in junior year, I was able to attend every meeting, and with that, I felt like joining Asian Student Union for me was important because we have such a small population of an HPI at Marysville Fellowship, and I felt like it was a good like time to connect and meet other people who might share the same experiences as me. And so with that, we put on our first NHPI assembly during May. And so we hope that will continue to this year.
Okay, so you can tell she's a real go-getter. One of the things that we asked her, how do you want to be remembered? It was approachability and inclusivity. And I think that the things that you just talked about show that when you see a gap or a hole or a need, you step up and you do that. Can you tell us a little bit about what your plans are for after high school?
So right now I'm doing a register at EBCC, and so I'm pursuing my associate's degree in business and marketing. And so after high school, I should be graduating with my AA, and I want to transfer to Florida University, preferably in Washington, hopefully UW.
And would you like to introduce anyone that you thought with?
Yeah, so I brought my dad and my brother over there.
Congratulations. Moving Avery Brennan for last because I don't see him here, so I'll just give you a little summary about him. He's also from Marysville, Pilchuck, and what we talked about, he's a leader on the football team, and they had some coaching changes from last year. This year they had a really top 10 team last year, and so they've had some struggles, and he's really stepped up, not as a formal coach or leader or captain, but just as a go-to person that people use him as an informal leader on the team. And then he's taken that love and volunteered with youth in football and helping the next generation come up and fall in love with the sport. He also wanted to pursue a career at Western he was hoping for a track scholarship. And he wanted to be remembered as the go-to guy. So unfortunately, he's not here, but let's give him a round of applause. Now, each of these students have shown great character inside and outside the classroom. Our Sir Optimus Club would like to say thank you to the families and teachers for supporting them. To Sam, Amanda, Avery, and Alessa, your work is appreciated. You're already making our community a better place. Let's just give them another round of applause and bring them up for a photo.
Stand right here. Moms and dads, come on up. Siblings. You're not gonna get left out. Don't break. Hi. Good job. Okay. All right. Looking good so far. As long as you can see me, I can see you. So let's give this a shot. Okay, 1, 2, 3. We're going to do a couple. Great. Excellent.
Of that. All right. We're gonna move into the staff student and board reports. First, we're gonna dive into the department updates presented by the district leadership team. Take it away.
All right, we're gonna start with elementary tonight. Starting this week, each elementary school leadership team with an iReady math consultant and myself will participate in a learning walk to engage in the work taking place in classrooms, analyze the implementation process, and determine actionable next steps to support teachers in implementing iReady classroom mathematics. The session begins with a preparation team meeting to look at data and to build a shared understanding of the focus area for the classroom visits. After the classroom visits, the session wraps up with a team debrief to identify trends and opportunities for growth and develop an action plan to support teachers. Any board member would like to join us, let us know.
I'd love to join you. I'm letting you know.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Burgess, community members. This is our report from the human resources world. So recently we spent quite a bit of time working with the Financial Oversight Committee and additional directives that we received from the committee and clarifications with regard to our hiring process and those positions that are currently in the queue in order to ensure that we are operating within budget parameters and guidelines set out by the FOC. Additionally, my department has also been working on risk management issues, specifically with the new insurance providers, working to set up monthly regular meetings with USI and other associated insurance brokers, third-party administrators. And tomorrow, I believe we have a meeting to look at risk and gap analysis, which is obviously really important for the district to get a read on where we are currently, especially considering that we have switched over to new insurance providers. And additionally, we've been also working within our team to talk about various policies and procedures, internal control processes that are needed within our department, various HR functions, including hiring, but not solely. And we're going about analyzing and assessing what is needed, and then we'll also do that in line with reviewing the 5,000 series of personnel policies and procedures.
Good evening, directors, Dr. Burgess and community. Today I thought I would let you know that we have officially started the process of appointing student representatives to the board. So today applications opened. They'll be open for 2.5 weeks. Once we have a great pool of candidates for you, we will get those applications over for your screening and interview process. And we hope to have students seated before or when we start the new year. We're excited to get that process started for you. Also, I wanted to kind of piggyback on what Dr. Burgess said. I got the chance a week and a half ago to go with him to each of the secondary staffs and listen to his message to each of our teachers and really talk to them. I think a few things that stood out to me was he's very relational. I know that the staff believes him when he says that they're what makes everything happen here in the district, and that we need to be doing everything we can to make sure that that connection between student learning and teaching is absolutely maximized. So that was wonderful. I would say that he was realistic and transparent and very compassionate. So for me personally, it was very inspiring. I'm excited to finish this year and do what I can to help the district. So that's my report.
Good evening, members of the board, President Krebs, Dr. Burgess, members of the community. In the finance world, it's been a very busy couple of weeks as we work to complete the year-end financial wrap-up. That is actually due at the end of this week, and we are on pace to meet that deadline. and submit that to the ESD by 10/25. We're also working on a revised budget as requested by the FOC. The original deadline was October 15th. We did get leniency on that as they realized we were also working year end at the same time. So we're working on that, splitting duties and on pace to hopefully meet a 11/15 deadline. I'm hoping to have that ready and presented to the board at the 11/4 board meeting. Also at that board meeting, I'm going to start with a monthly performance report for the past 2 months to show our actuals to plan. And that's been kind of difficult to do since our budget is having to change for the FOC. So we will start that as a monthly activity. Also, in the land of operations, we've been working on a bunch of different angles to identify cost savings and reductions. We've been looking at, in the IT department, we completed a comprehensive software analysis of software used in the district. Now, that data was presented to me today by the IT department, and we're looking to see what is appropriate to reduce, combine, see what reaction is necessary for the operation of the district. In our food service area, we've been looking at ways to look at a larger model for a comprehensive centralized kitchen. Members of my food service department went out to the Mukilteo School District to look at what their operations are, citing a lot of improvements with food cost savings and operational savings with the centralized kitchen model. That's something that we look to model in the future as a potential option for Marysville. And then in our warehouse and print shop, we've been looking to control costs at a more granular level by reducing the need of excess purchasing when we have storage available or stores available. And we catch a couple things that are here now about $1,000, but every little bit helps. So we are attacking the budget issue on all fronts. And so that is my report.
Good evening, Dr. Courtney Hill, Equity, Family Engagement, etc. This evening, I'm going to focus in on just a few key things. We've been really working on streamlining all of our staffing needs and identifying those and working along with human resources to get those positions filled across the board to make sure that all of our students have support. One thing I do want to highlight is that one of our phenomenal parent advisory committee members for our migrant education program, Elizabeth Alejo, she's been PAC president for the past 2 years. She has also been selected as a member of the Washington State PAC for migrant education. So she will be representing Marysville and the entire state. So I just want to congratulate Elizabeth and thank her for her dedication.
All right, thank you all very much. We're going to move on to District Director 3 update presented by myself. So I think we've sent something out, but Thursday, October 30th, we're going to be hosting interviews for our candidates starting at 4:30. The 3 candidates that will be there for the interview are Cam Christine Bradley, Mark Thomas, and Edward Anthony Abea III. So we will have 3 interviews starting at 4:30. And if you remember last time, each interview took about 20 minutes or so. And I think there's like a 5-minute break in between each of them. So you could probably plan on that meeting lasting about an hour to an hour and 30 minutes. I do believe that you will be able to view via Zoom, and per the community request from the last time we did this, we're going to have some surveys for our audience who is here, and we'll also have a survey link for those viewing online, and we'll leave that survey link up for about 1 to 2 days afterwards. That way you have more than enough time to get your input in. And I think last time we had it up for about 15 minutes after the interview. But I'm sure there were some folks who either got word of the interviews later and still wanted their input. So we'll do that this time. And that's the update that I have. So October 30th, 4:30. Alrighty, we will move on to property exchange update. I think, did you already give it?
In my exuberance, I gave you that ahead of schedule. So, but I do have other things to talk to you about, okay? At the board's direction, they've expressed an interest to me that there would be information items on issues that would come to the board before they ever move to action items. It would give both the board longer times to review the information before they actually vote on it. It would also give the community more opportunity to get informed about decisions being made by the board so that their input could also be heard. So there will be exceptions to that based on timelines that must be met. However, we don't want that to be the rule. We want that to be the exception. So that's the board direction, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing as your superintendent.
Very much that. And we will be moving into upcoming events presented by Jody Runyon, Director of Communications.
Thank you, President Krebs. Good evening, Dr. Burgess and Board of Directors. So this evening, I have a few things to update you on. First of all, I want to apologize to our friends on Zoom. We are having some camera issues. We've been having these issues for a couple of meetings. We're trying to work it out. So if we're physically moving the camera tonight, so if you're not seeing everybody all at the same time, that's why. So we're going to keep working on that. Typically, we usually put the upcoming events up on the screen. I know the board has a copy and there's copies on the back table for our friends in the audience. So our apologies for that, and we will keep working on it. Our team is dedicated to get that fixed. So I'd like to point out a couple things. This week is National Bus Safety Week. So I want to thank our bus drivers and also our bus trainers and our director of transportation and all of the support staff of transportation that make sure that our buses are safe and operating on the road every single day. They put a lot of training time and effort into training our drivers to make sure that our students are safe. So it's also bus evacuation drills. That makes sense to do that during Bus Safety Week. So there's 2 days this week on the 22nd and the 24th where they will do bus evacuation drills. And they do that right at the school when they arrive in the morning. So they show kids how to enter and exit the bus and how to use the emergency exits if they are ever needed. Coming up, Dr. Burgess already talked about the school closure meetings. Tomorrow night, the 22nd at the Marysville Tulalip campus at the Francie Sheldon Gym, that's at 6 o'clock. The 23rd at the MPHS Commons, also at 6, and the 28th at the Marysville Middle School Gym, also at 6 o'clock. We have had some requests for a Zoom meeting for those. We do have a few challenges when we take our Zoom on the road, but I understand that the planning team, and I don't know, Bonnie, if you want to comment on that, the planning team is planning on doing a recording, doing a recording, and then there will be an opportunity to give feedback. So you want to add to that?
I do, because I did not communicate with you that we are going to move tomorrow's meeting just right across the street into the Legacy Commons area. It's just set up a little bit better, should be better for our community when they arrive. So you're still going to the same parking lot, and we'll make sure that we direct you that direction. So I'm sorry, that's my fault. I didn't get that to you. Just made that change this morning.
Okay, we'll make sure and get that change online as well. So the Commons at Legacy, just right across the parking lot.
Right, thank you.
October 24th is the 10-year mark of the Marysville Pilchuck High School tragedy. There will be a memorial walk. We are asking people to gather at 6:30 p.m. and the walk will start at 7 o'clock p.m. That is being coordinated by Uniting Stories, a Marysville and Tulalip coalition. And we thank them for taking that and offering that for our community and the families impacted. There's a new date for the Tulalip Tribes Prevention Night, and that's going to be for Tulalip Tribal and all Native youth at the Youth Center. And that's happening on Saturday, actually, at 4:30 p.m., followed by a really fun pumpkin patch trip for all of the students who participate. Uniting Stories is also a part of that, and they're going to be providing some prevention resources for students and families. Let's see, fall conferences, we talked about that last time, but they're coming up on October 28th, the week of the 28th. And then the 30th, President Krebs talked about the interviews. Those will be here in the board meeting. So that is my report this evening.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, now we're going to move into the hearing of business of visitors. I'll run through some of the asks of the speakers. So we've got about 30 minutes slotted for a public hearing. Each individual has up to 3 minutes. You can combine your time with another individual for a total of 6 minutes. I would ask that if you have any kind of grievances against any staff member, that you would just direct that to the board and the superintendent. I'm going to read off this list. I don't know if somebody signed up who thought it was a sign-in, and that would be Austin. Did you want to speak, or were you signing in?
Oh, I just thought we had to sign it.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify that. With that, we've got two speakers signed up tonight, and our first speaker is Nancy Harvin. Hello, Nancy.
Hello. It's pretty tough to follow the Grove Group Marimba Band and then Students of the Month. I almost sat there and chickened out. Nancy Harvey, second of 4 generations of Marysville High School graduates. I've been a volunteer for 15 straight years in the Marysville schools, and I'm a community member. What I want to talk to you about one of these days is math, but it's not going to happen today. I have to tell you that the Marimba Band and listening to the students really filled my heart. And I really needed that because I had a stressful weekend and day. Today I had a water line leak fixed at my house between the meter and the house. My house is 55 years old and the turn-off valve needed to be replaced as well. I want to say to parents and educators, encourage your children to be plumbers. There's money to make. And if they don't want to be plumbers, electricians and carpenters, not to take anything away from the young people who were up here saying they're going on to get a 4-year education, because if that's your direction, go for it. I'm happy to report that the CTE cooking class at Totem is up and running. They've made biscuits so far. Thank you to the, anonymous donors that donated money to get the refrigerators and the dishwashers. I'm hoping they remember that Grandma Nancy, who does math, likes cookies if they ever make cookies. Additionally, I spotted one of the students that I'd worked with in math at Totem for 3 years. Now he's up at the high school, and I was really surprised to see him on campus. I found out that he was attending class in our CTE maritime class building. This is the second year that Totem elementary students have been able to have the maritime class there. And it really surprised me that he was coming from the high school. Then when I met the teacher, I asked, and there is not just one class of middle school students, there are 3 classes of high school students coming down to use that maritime CTE class shop, which was built with CTE grant money. And I'm going to sit down now, but thank you for the Marimba Band and congratulations to the students who won Student of the Month. Great job.
Very much.
You are a great storyteller, by the way. Yeah.
Okay, next up, I have Letitia Campos.
She was here for the Marimba. She probably signed up.
Probably signed up. Okay. All right. we're gonna move on to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to the approval of the minutes?
I move to approve the regular session minutes of February fifth, 2024, the special session minutes of October 3rd, 2024, and the executive session, regular session minutes of October 7th, 2024 as presented.
I have a motion in a second. Any discussion?
We have our,
One of these things, not like the other.
yes.
All righty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, next up, the consent agenda. We have a motion on the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion?
The question, personnel report related, that wasn't necessarily a good spot in, the reports, but I'm curious how we're doing, in our hiring, and working those things out with the FOC, so we have some long-term subs, I think, in different spots.
Right.
And I'm just wondering a little bit more about the process of getting those long-term subs in or filling those positions.
Well, actually, I've been working directly with MEA president, and we're exploring a way to have those people put in as regular teachers. They were hired under, we had budgetary capacity, obviously, but we were unsure of the enrollment. The enrollment's here, and we're exploring possibility of moving them into a regular teaching assignment and placed on the appropriate salary schedule.
Thank you.
I can read gifts to the district here. We've got the Green and Gold Booster Club gifted to the NGHS band. It's a monetary gift in the amount of $3,580.31. And the purpose of this is to fund an NGHS band trip to Silverwood. And we have Lake Stevens Costco with a gift to Marshall Elementary. It's a $500 gift card. And the purpose of this is supplemental school supplies for Marshall Elementary. Totaling the amount of $4,080.31. So thank you to Green and Gold Booster Club and Lake Stevens Costco. Really appreciate it. Any other discussion for the consent agenda? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we're gonna go into some board action. Number one, and board action is out of endorsement teachers. This is gonna be presented by Brooke Marshall, Executive Director of Human Resources Program.
Good evening. In your board packet, you have a situation report regarding 3 out of endorsement teachers. So for the 24-25 school year, the following certificated staff members are teaching out of their endorsed areas. That's Megan Silverberger, Library Media at Marysville-Pilchuck High School. Leslie Crawford, English Language Learner at Marysville-Pilchuck High School. And Jared Johnson, Designated Arts Choir at Marysville-Pilchuck High School. As you're aware, the state of Washington acknowledges that we're in a teacher shortage and a crisis. For that reason, they have made teaching out of endorsement an option after the district has exhausted all efforts to hire properly endorsed teachers. So for WAC 181, 82, 110, board action is required for the district to approve these teachers in an out of endorsement teaching assignment. The recommendation for this evening's situation report is to approve the out of endorsement teachers for the 2024-2025 school year. And included in your board packet are plans of support for all three certificated teachers.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the teachers listed to teach out the out of endorsement for the 2024-25 school year.
I'll second.
Motion in seconds. Any discussion from the board? So once, these plans for support, this is a kind of a track to get these, teachers certified in their respective current roles.
Correct. Correct.
Well, I would just note that for some of these folks, you know, like we did a 0.25 choir teacher. And so we have a music teacher with instrumental certification helping to cover choir, right? Like that. Seems to make a lot of sense. I understand that technically, maybe he or she doesn't have the certification, but. Yeah. I can appreciate that it's hard to find a 0.25.
Right, that is, yes. We work closely with OSBI with regard to tracking teacher certification endorsement areas and as well as the need for the district within each of the school buildings. So it's something that I feel really comfortable with regard to how we go about the plans of support for these individual teachers.
Thank you.
Any other discussion from the board?
Now, just my experience has been a lot, most times when you have a teacher teaching out of endorsement, they actually do a pretty good job. I mean, they wouldn't have selected them if they couldn't do it.
Exactly.
So you get, there's not any drop off.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes very well. Next up, Lexia Letters 4-5 and Power Up Instructional Resources presented by Lori Kutz, Executive Director of Elementary Schools.
Good evening, Superintendent Burgess, President Krebs, members of the board. Tonight I'd like to talk about Lexia. And joining me is Sarah Marie, Principal at QCT, and a first grade teacher, Melissa Cullen from QCT. Before I hand it over to them so they can give you a little more insight on the hands-on experience with the Lexia platform, I want to give you a little background. Lexia Letters stands for the language essential for teachers of reading and spelling. Lexia Core 5 and Power Up Instructional Materials are why we're here this evening. We have continually recognized a reduction in the number of students reading proficiently in our district. There are many contributing factors to our overall literacy outcomes, but our goal has been to discover and implement a literacy model to increase student outcomes. We reflected on our own QCT Elementary, their specific SBA scores from 22-23 school year, which showed only 12% of the students were reading at grade level. We had a direct need for urgency. I partnered with Sarah Marie at QCT, Melissa Van Zanten, and Lori Kopp at Lexia, the Science of Reading, at the beginning of 23-24 school year to pilot the Science of Reading strategies. Sarah will share some of this data from that pilot. We also had our entire elementary leadership team start the Letters for Administrators training program immediately. This model focuses on an evidence-based, systematic approach to teaching reading, which highlights phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, and a simple view of teaching reading. We started with teacher training and will continue throughout the next 2 years. When creating our vision for literacy, which is really important, we needed to address key systems. First, professional learning, data-based decision-making, intervention, Tier 1 curriculum, assessment, and leadership. We are training our elementary leadership team and our teachers, and we needed a tool like Lexia, which we are talking to you about tonight, to focus on data-based decision-making and support for our students who are struggling the most. Lexia is a personalized tool that is unique to each student and highlights the individual reading, quotes, building block skills needed to become a proficient reader. It also provides daily data and resources to teach each needed skill. Lexia does this for our elementary students, Lexia Power Up for our secondary struggling readers. And then we are piloting Lexia English at Kellogg Marsh for our emergent bilingual students who need support with speaking and listening language skills. We know that it will take time to implement and focus on all the needed systems to transition to a structured literacy model. We will continue to build upon the OSPI recommendations for the science behind teaching reading that will increase SBA scores and the number of students reading proficiently. So that's just a little bit of the background of Lexia. Director Harris, I know that you're new to listening and hearing and learning about Lexia, so I hope that helped. And now I'd like to hand it over to Sarah.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity, first and foremost. I'll share a little bit about my background in literacy specifically, because I think that's part of the story at QCT. One of the reasons that I was brought into QCT with that hiring team is because my background is in literacy specifically. I'm a national board certified teacher in the area of literacy. I've done literacy coaching both in the United States and in the country of India. And I've done a lot of instructional work at the district level and at the school level and at the classroom level. I was a teacher for 15 years myself, K through third, which is, as you know, a lot of literacy growth happens in those years. And so, so that was the lens that I came into QCT with. I had a staff that was incredibly passionate about reading and recognized that what we were doing was not working and that the practices that were in place at QCT were not meeting the needs of the vast majority of our students. Then COVID hit. And that put a pause on a lot of our work to really do a thorough curriculum needs analysis as well as a thorough data needs analysis for our school. So what I am proud about, as we did not let that stop us, it may have paused us periodically, but we really spent some time as a school 2 years ago, specifically 2 to 3 years ago, to really look carefully at what does our curriculum do well, what does the data show that we're doing well, and then where are there deficits? Where are there things that are maybe missing or that we're not hitting the mark on when we look at our student data and when we really delve deep and look across many different sources of data for our students. What that really revealed to our teachers is we were doing a pretty decent job of teaching comprehension and fluency around reading. However, we were really missing the mark on a lot of the foundational skills that lead up to proficient reading. And so we spent some time as a staff really delving into what is structured literacy, what does brain research say about how children and people learn to read, how do we take the things that are innate to our biology as humans, such as speaking and listening, and connect that to elements like reading and writing, and really build that superhighway in our brains of electrons that are going to help our students to feel like confident and proficient readers when they leave us in 5th grade. The partnership that we've had with Lori, with Melissa Van Zanten, with Lori Toth at Letters has been a huge part of that in this last year in particular. I'm incredibly excited because Lexia is a tool that QCT was really looking at specifically for our school. I'm thrilled that it's something that all teachers are going to be able to access. And I want to speak a little bit to why. So Lexia, this is going to sound a little odd, but remember I was in the classroom for 15 years. Lexia is what I would call a no excuses tool. And I love no excuses tools because as a teacher, one of the most common excuses, and I use the word excuse, but it is a very real thing, is there is no time. There is no time in the day to add in another thing. And if you know any teachers in your life, you've probably heard like, oh my gosh, how do we fit it in? We only have this many hours in the day. How do we do it? What I love about Lexia is it is really a no-brainer and it is very science research. So I actually used the first iteration of Lexia about, I hate to say this, probably 20 to 25 years ago now as a kindergarten teacher It was developed initially to really address the needs of all students, but particularly students that might fall into that category of having dyslexia or learning disabilities. This newest iteration is incredibly exciting. I have like dug into it as a principal. In fact, I'm doing my own small group right now with one of my third grade classes because I am loving it so much. And so I've built that partnership in. But I really call it a no excuses tool because it does so many different things. It's not only robust, but it's so user-friendly and so easy to use that you would have to actively try not to differentiate for your students, which no teacher is going to do, right? Like it is literally that simple. I can hop in, and given I do have a literacy background, but I as a principal can hop into this third grade classroom, confer with a teacher very quickly on their students, and we can get those materials and those resources that are targeted for that student's need and skill-based need like that, right? And we can get it up and going in literally minutes. And that's so incredible for teachers who over the years continue to have a bigger and bigger and bigger workload, right? Which is a very real thing. And so I want to speak to a few things that it does. So the first thing that Lexia does, and Lori kind of hinted at this, right, is it can be used as a data tool. So the more a student interacts with the Lexia interface, the more information it will collect about that student and where they are strong, where there are deficits. So it will tell you, here's some skills this student has, here's some skills that are missing, and it'll tell you through the continuum of kindergarten through fifth. Right? So you can see where a student's may be above grade level standard in an area, as well as where a student may be right at or below. The other thing it does is it will track a student's trajectory in any given skill. This is incredibly important, especially as we think about our students that may have a learning disability but has not yet been identified. You can go into any specific skill for any student in your classroom, and it will show you if it has a typical learning trajectory. Is the student making expected progress, or are they flatlining in areas and are they needing different intervention? If they are flatlining in an area, it's super simple because it will literally create a printable lesson that you then as a teacher can print out and implement immediately with that student. Typically, I do them the next day as I'm working with this third grade class and as I'm conferring with that teacher. But those lessons are printable. You print it right out. You're able to connect it to other materials that we have in our core curriculum, such as ReadyGen.geo, other decodable texts. And it's very easy to use. And so then you have a second intervention that you're able to implement with that student that's a hands-on, very direct instruction with the teacher, very targeted to that student's very specific need. Sorry, I'm not going off my notes very well. I planned them thinking I would read to you, but I didn't. And then the other thing that it does is it provides individualized practice. So it does have an online component. It's similar, when we adopted iReady as a math curriculum, there was an iReady math My Pathway component that individualized and tailored independent practice in math for students. This Lexia tool does that for reading. So it really meets a need that isn't there in our literacy instruction right now, where students can have that very individualized practice with the online platform. And that is what then helps us to get the information we need to be able to then tailor for those specific lessons that are directly in hands-on with the teacher. Lexia itself is very new to QCT. We've only been using it about 3 weeks to a month now. But this idea of implementing structured literacy, the work that we've done with letters is not as new. We've been doing that for about a year now and piloting that in our school. And so I want to talk about a few data points that might be of interest. So the letters training that was offered last spring was an optional training for staff. 93% of teachers at QCT opted to do that training. They saw the value of that so clearly that they gave up the first week of their summer without pay, right, to engage in that training. It was that important to them with what they knew about our students and our students' needs. 100% of our classrooms, when we did our walkthroughs to see how the lessons that we learned in letters were being implemented in the classroom, 100% of our classrooms are utilizing a 20 to 30 minute, what we call science of reading block, where they are working specifically on these skills through that model of researched, like brain research, and doing that structured literacy model. That is consistent in every single classroom in our school. Our STAR CBM data, when we look at our K through second cohort, which is the cohort that is had the most exposure to this this type of teaching, this shift in teaching, if you will, from fall of last year to fall of this year, they have grown in proficiency, 13% proficient overall to 38% proficient overall. So we have more than doubled the number of students at standard in our K2 band with this shift. When we look at our third grade cohort, which is a cohort we also have done some pretty high investment in, our STAR data shows that 34% of our third grade cohort is on track with their foundational skills now. And we're continuing to focus in on that cohort this year as a partnership cohort with some of our lab staff, myself, obviously, I'm in a third grade classroom supporting as well, and then some of our instructional coaches. And then Lexia, which is our new tool that we're using. We already have 9 students that have passed so many lessons that they've gained mastery in different units and skills that they did not have before in 3 weeks. 95% of our students are accessing Lexia daily when I look at the usage reports. And this is an area that we are literally using our data teams this week to even grow even further. But in the last 3 weeks, over half of our classroom teachers have utilized those printable lessons to give differentiated instruction to individual or small groups of students, utilizing the Lexia resources that are available. And we are actually utilizing those resources as part of our data teamwork this week. And we are anticipating as a try-on, 100% of our teachers will have tried on at least 1 lesson by the end of this week. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Cullen. Dr. Cullen is our first grade teacher. She just earned her doctorate last year. We're very excited for her. So she's happy to meet Dr. Cullen. She is familiar with this tool not only as a summer school teacher, but also as a first grade teacher this year. So I'm going to have her share a little bit about her experience.
Thank you. Maybe a little bit, because she's done a lot. What I do want to start with, though, is just to have you recognize that at QCT, like many schools within our district, we have kids with a range of reading abilities. And so differentiating for that range is really essential. And as a teacher, that can be really cumbersome if you don't have the strategy to do that. And in the classroom, Lexia provides you with that structure as to how to do it. And it's not complicated at all. It's deeply rooted in the science of reading, and it lets you give explicit instruction in the skills that your kids need. I've got 2 students already who have grown in the past 3 weeks a grade level, which is phenomenal.
An entire grade level.
Yeah. But we are implementing it with fidelity in our classroom. And we're implementing it in a small group setting. When I did the training over summer, it suggested to do it in a small group setting where it would be one of the centers that your kids would go to. And then you would do your small group instruction based on the information that Lexia gave you, which is proven to be an invaluable planning tool for me. I don't have to plan anything myself. I can look at the data. I can look at to see where my kids are on that trajectory, and it will inform me they need more support in this area. That allows me to pull the kiddos who have common skill deficits and teach a specific lesson. If you are interested, I have a couple, if anybody would like to see that.
Would you guys like to see
Yeah.
some examples of
Yeah.
the lessons? These are a couple that we did with some of our second and third graders. They're each different, so you want to put a class around for that. But it gives you a sense of what the targeted skills look like.
So essentially what happens is after the placement test, students are placed on a pathway that Sarah said was tailored, just like iReady is. It's tailored to where they are. And it moves them along a progression of what they need in regard to phonological awareness, comprehension, fluency. And that data that I look at every day allows me to better inform my small group instruction. It lets me do that while at the same time, my other students can also be on Lexia following their individualized pathway. So there's no learning time wasted. And to be quite honest, we don't have that time to waste. We need to make use of that time as we have it, because that K2 period of time is when that foundational learning and literacy happens. There's so much growth neurologically that happens at that time, and we need to really take advantage of that. So essentially, I highly value Lexia as a tool, not only to accelerate our development, but to make sure that there is equity in learning, that all my students are getting what they need as learners of literacy. And I'm excited to see where they're going to be by the end of the year. I have kiddos right now from kindergarten all the way through second grade. And it'll be exciting to see when we implement it with Fidelity. They're going to be that much more ready to be not only learning to read, but reading to learn. And that's our goal. I'm in a first, second grade class this year. We're team teaching. And so our goal for our students is not to learn to read anymore, but to read to learn. And this tool is going to be instrumental in having us do that. Thank you.
Very much.
Any other questions in regards to?
Go ahead and take a motion. Then just some discussion here.
I move to approve the purchase of Lexia Core 5 and Power of Instructional Resources to support the district-wide implementation of the science of reading.
Second. Motion in a second. Any discussion from the board?
I did, but I'm kind of gone over, for at least more, I'm kind of, when I looked at this, I thought, oh, and just, I kind of got that, kind of had the lovely experience of taking kids to star reading tests and those sort of things.
Right.
And just the lack of engagement and enthusiasm over online stuff, it sounds like this is a little bit different. The fact that you had 93% of your staff come for anything is amazing. So that speaks to, so that's my question is, what do teachers, why do we need, what do teachers think of this? How are they using it? And so it sounds like it's something that you value, it's useful, you're seeing results, and it's something that can be replicated across the district easily.
And I will say that the fact that we have over half, in 3 weeks, we have over half our teachers willing to engage and use these printable lessons and are already in it, using it, that's without me having provided the training for it yet, right? Like I kind of opened it up and said, hey, if you want to try this on while we get the training up and going, feel free to explore it. That's without us doing the formal training that we're going to be doing this week to help support folks in that implementation process. So that's all teacher motivated, right? Like that's not a top down, right? This is a grassroots in many ways. This
And
isn't a teacher saying this school works and
I
we liked it.
I think we see the immediate need that we have, especially for a lot of our kiddos, and we want to be very careful and very strategic as to how we approach reading, and this is really helping.
And every building's moving at a different pace. And every teacher will get, what is it, a 30-minute online training. And then working closely with Lexia and the consultants, they will do one-on-one if teachers want to reach out to them. They will also come to our buildings and help in grade level groups or individually if needed.
They have a fantastic, you send them a message over the platform and they're right there with you guiding through any questions.
They're very responsive. Very supportive.
So all teachers at all elementary schools have the option to request one-on-one and have access to log in to their platform to address any other concerns or questions.
Yes, yes. And the consultants are very responsive. Principals are leading this work through grade level teams as much as possible. So if we have like 2 or 3 individuals in a certain grade level, we like to get that whole grade level together because they may have the same questions. And it helps them work together around the data that comes from Lexi as well.
Sounds like QCT team has done a really good job at taking advantage of this opportunity. I would just be curious at just from a standpoint of 93% of teachers attending the training. I'm curious about rolling it out. You did say it's at different pace for different buildings. Other buildings and the success too.
Right, so QCT had the highest percentage. Not all buildings had that high of a percentage. We had 160 teachers give up their time the week in June, right after school was out. The only thing we could give them is clock hours. The other piece of this that was really attractive to teachers was they can get a science of reading certificate. But they have to do the stage 2 that we're doing this June. So those 160 teachers that went this June, we are having them partner with the principals to lead the work in the building. Right, so it's not just the principals leading it on every SIP day this year, school improvement time, which is principal time, we are doing straight letters. Right, so we're trying to train all the staff, even those who could not or chose not to go to that June training, trying to still work with everyone to move forward. So now as we're doing that, those who did not attend the stage 1 are asking if there's going to be a stage 1 this next year. So I'm already working with the consultant at Letters to make sure we do a stage 1 and a stage 2 training this June. And in other states, what they are requiring with their early learning literacy instructors is to have that, that stage 1, stage 2 training in order to teach K2.
Well, there are states requiring this training for their teachers.
Yeah, Utah is leading the way on all of this.
I want to talk about the licenses for a second. So I'm guessing approve the purchase of 10 Lexia Core reading unlimited licenses. I would imagine 1 license for every school. And then it talks about free Lexia Power of Literacy unlimited licenses. So can you tell me about where are those 3 licenses being distributed, or how are those 3 licenses being distributed?
Bonnie's going to help me out on this one.
Yes, so Mr. Moeller asked if the middle schools, because they could get it at a good package rate, if they would be interested. So we're just starting the pilot. We've got a few teachers at each building that are jumping into the program. We did have even this summer, we have 1 staff member who worked summer school who just absolutely adored it. So again, you kind of start getting that grassroots the minute that you use it, you start telling people how great it is. So we're definitely not quite as far along, but we've got a few people getting their hands in it right now.
Thank you very much. And then do we have to subscribe to these licenses on an annual basis?
So this is I think it's a 3-year purchase. I'm gonna go back and double check that for you. It's either 2 or 3. We did not want to just purchase for 1 year. It's sort of been our history here. We implement something and then it goes away. We want something that's gonna be here to stay. So in working with categorical funds, we wanted to purchase something for up to 2 to 3 years, and be able to provide the training alongside.
So I wanted to thank you for the presentation. I really appreciated hearing from both of you about how just the practical side of this and how it's being used in our schools and impacting students. So thank you so much for that. I have, anyway, reading instruction and literacy instruction is something as my kids struggled early on in very interesting ways, right? And decoding doesn't just come automatically, as you might expect. And so I am curious, when using this tool, it sounds like much of it can be done online with the student, right? And then there's the opportunity then for the teacher to have some like one-on-one instruction or small group instruction or something. So if your student is struggling with decoding or, you know, some of that phonemic awareness, you're able to kind of pick that up and provide some targeted support.
There's actually a bit more to it. Those are the pieces I touched on, but if I am happy to share sort of all the iterations of it. It goes on and on and on.
Sorry,
Yeah.
are you able to go to the mic? Because I
Oh,
think we
sure,
have
I'm
Zoom.
sorry,
Zoom
yes,
people too.
yeah, absolutely. I'm loud, so I hardly ever
Yeah,
use
no
the
worries.
mic, but, yeah, so I'll speak that there's actually quite a few different resources in there. So, so if you, and I'm visual, so I'm like literally picturing the interface in my mind right now. So sort of first step is they have a resources tab. That resources tab has, what you would be potentially utilizing not only in small group, but you can also utilize in full group instruction. So it has an element of printable lessons that are in there. They have different graphic organizers, different visuals to help support students with when you are kind of going through a whole group instruction sequence. So that's piece number 1. That then goes in partnership with this idea of this individualized online practice and this small group piece. The program is most effective when you have all 3 of those pieces working in conjunction with each other. I would say those are sort of the 3 core elements of this program. In addition to that, and I spoke, I think, about the 9 students that have already shown mastery in different units within this program, just in these last 3 weeks. So in addition to that, for each student that then shows mastery in a unit, a certificate is generated for that student. That certificate not only lists what they have just mastered, but what would be good practice for at home. So it works really beautifully as a home to school connection. And then in addition to that, there's what we call skill builders built in there as well. Those skill builders are tailored again to those very specific needs targeted to those individual students. Those skill builders can also be printed out and be used as additional hands-on independent practice for a student in the classroom, or be sent home as a home to school connection as well. So there's really, if you think about it, 5 components that if they were being all used right in conjunction with each other could be incredibly powerful for that, not only that home to school partnership, but also that whole group instruction, small group instruction, and individualized instruction that you would want to see in a robust literacy classroom. Does that kind of answer that?
Absolutely.
Can I add?
Yep, come on.
When you look at the report that kids are getting, well, you see as a teacher, it'll flag and say, on the tippy top of it, it'll say instruction needed. And it'll say the number of the kids. You open up that child's name and it will let you know how they performed on the specific skill. For example, writing. It'll let you know if they did it independently, if they needed guided support, or if they needed specific instruction. If it's a green and it's just one time, they were able to do it independently. The teacher can look at that and it can look at that requires instruction and pull those kiddos for those specific skills. So that's how you form your small groups. You look at those kids that need instruction and then you look, why do they need instruction? And it will actually suggest for you the lesson to teach them in the small group. So it's very specific.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
So, the data that you're, collecting on the students,
We're not done yet, all right. No, I'm just kidding.
so parents can look into Skyward and you can see report cards and stuff like that, but are parents able to access the kind of more, in-depth data that this would provide?
Ish, and I'll say why I'm saying ish. So there are generated reports that a teacher can print out for each student. And there's skill-based reports that they can print out that give a very clear, for a student who breaks down each specific skill and gives all of this sort of detailed information a parent would need. So we're working actually right now to figure out which reports in that system would be best for upcoming parent-teacher conferences, for example, because each report gives you a little bit different picture. We're thinking that skill-based report is going to be the most useful in that partnership with families. There's also an element where students can access the online practice portion from home. Because it's an online program, it will generate a username and password for a student. And so as teachers, there's actually a way to log in as well. We just haven't done that yet, done that quite yet, because it's new to us. It's only been 3 weeks, but it'll generate and print for a class a login code. It'll have the student's username. Student plugs in that username into the Lexia URL, hits forgot password, creates their password, and then that would make it so that that platform is now accessible at home for that student as well. So that's an opportunity also for a parent teacher sort of partnership.
But
I would imagine that.
answer your question about Skyward, it wouldn't be in Skyward.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I would imagine whatever, student login would be generated, they would be limited to only that individual student's data.
Correct. It would just be that student's platform essentially that they would be accessing. Yeah. And then the principal reports would be accessed through the teacher specifically.
Thank you.
And I want to be clear, we are not close to that piece right now. As you just heard these two talking on the side a little bit.
Yeah, we haven't launched that element yet. We're wanting to make sure teachers feel extremely comfortable in it before we launch into that parent portion.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other?
Yes, just a last comment, at least on the software itself, or the program itself. I'm really glad that we have the opportunity for our middle school students to have some additional support. I know it feels like sometimes once you get to that level, kids are expected to be reading to learn, and sometimes you still need that one additional support and having materials that are appropriate for middle schooler to continue to build those literacy skills. I think is really important as well, because no 8th grader wants to be, doing cat in the hat kind of thing, right?
Correct. Yep.
So I'm excited to hear what goes this year, what kind of things we see.
Any other discussion from the board?
So I think yes, thank you so much for the presentation.
Yeah.
I guess the one thing that we probably do need to have a conversation about just is timing. And we just need to ensure that our processes, I know it's something we're keenly aware of, that things are brought to the board in a timely way.
I've heard the board loud and clear, and I share your sentiment about that. We will do it.
This is more directed towards, I guess, well, to Layla, but after a conversation that we just from your presentation, my mind is wondering, how is this information being shared with Layla partners? That's it, that's all. In relation, you don't have to answer me right now.
Okay.
I'm just thinking out
there, I don't
loud.
mind.
Well, through our MOU process as well, we get in front of the board 3 times a year and give a data report. So it will probably come up during then. I know Sarah meets with Jesse Bustad on a regular basis as well.
Yeah.
To discuss data with
And in
the
fact, I
data
think we're
teams.
meeting with her again this week, and so, yeah, so that'll be a conversation. Wow.
Any other discussion from the board? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. All right, next, we're gonna move into some informational items. Everett Community College Open Doors. This is gonna be presented by Bonnie Walker, Executive Director of Secondary Schools.
Hello again, directors and Dr. Burgess. Tonight I come before you to present, this is an annual renewal of our partnership with the Everett Community College. And this is an open doors program. It's a youth engagement program that we work with them on. It does have, I put no, there's no financial impact, but we actually work with student FTE. So when students enroll in the Everett Community College Open Doors program, the Everett Community College sends us over their P223 count on their side. We have a date every month that it needs to get sent on, and then we receive that information. We look at what our data says, it matches up. They get 93% of that apportionment, and then we keep 7% of that apportionment. There is voc and non-voc on there. I had actually written that it is for the non-vocational, but that also is the same percentage for the vocational FTE. So those students that might be doing additional FTE coursework in the vocational areas. So again, this is a, right into where it goes away. This is a continuation of the partnership, and this is basically going to be data sharing and very minimal supplies here. We do have one person who, again, is on that receiving side for a lot of that information, transcripts, students, and those types of things. And this is just information.
Yeah, and this is, so this is something we're currently doing, or this is something that you're gonna bring before the board at some point?
This is something that is ongoing, so we just once a year, I need to make sure that I bring it back in front of you because we do have an ongoing MOU. The Everett Community College side does not require that we do that. This is what we do here, as our policy is that you see that once a year and have the opportunity. We do have to, if we decided to stop our partnership, which I would not recommend, we do have to get to a 60-day notice on that. So there is the option of not doing it anymore, but it's a great program. It helps lots of students.
It's been in place for several years, hasn't it?
It has been in place for several years. So we have our Open Doors program here through the ESD that takes place at Totem Middle School, and then the Everett Community College Open Doors program. Those are not the same program. There's very minor differences. One of, I suppose, the major ones is that the students who are admitted and enrolled at the Everett Community College, they have the opportunity to get dual credit classes. So the ones here on site are strictly high school credits. There, if you take a class that is considered a 100 level or higher, you can get dual credit. Those students can get dual credit. Similar process, though, you need to be behind in your credits. You must be over 16, under 21. A lot of those things are very similar.
Thanks for making that distinction, because I remember Open Doors with the ESD coming through here, maybe, I don't know.
May of last year.
Yeah, was it really just May? Anyway, okay. Time flies.
That's okay. Any other questions? Because this is a report, so I'm not exactly sure when I should that way.
Does anybody have any other questions or? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, the salary schedules for the 2024-2025 school year to be presented by Brooke Marshall, Executive Director of Human Resources. Welcome.
Good evening again, directors, Dr. Burgess. Before you in your packet, you have, I believe, 6, if I'm not mistaken, salary schedules for the 24-25 school year. These salary schedules have been implemented with regard to pay of each of the employee groups. And this is an informational report for you this evening. Each of these salary schedules were part of negotiated agreements, and then also for the professional technical group, exempt and non-exempt salary schedules, those were part of an association agreement. One of the things that I would like to do moving forward is continually do a regular review of our salary schedules in terms of classification and compensation, and looking at our peers in each of the representative groups to ensure that we are competitive with neighboring districts, and also within alignment with the budget, obviously. But that is something that in prior work I've done with regard to classification and compensation is something that is extremely important for districts to do. Salary schedules are obviously not intended to be static documents. They are part of the negotiated process, which gets reviewed, as you know, on several year basis. But I think it's also important for the district to be able to look into what those salary schedules are based on. It needs to be tied back to the classification of the position, the role and responsibility of each of the positions within the context of that employee group, and then ensuring that we review that in light of neighboring districts and maintaining our competitiveness. So I'll stand for any questions the board may have.
Any questions from any of the board members?
Well, I would just ask about when implementing like a regular review, is that something that we would have to like contract somebody to do, or is that something that you already have all the skill set to like review compensation schedules around other districts and making sure we're doing so in a specific way?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I do have prior experience with a K-12 public school district, as well as a municipality and also an institution of higher education here in Washington State. I feel really comfortable and have worked with a number of different national consultants when performing this work. So I feel as if it's something that is within my skill set. We would not have to go externally. I would, in looking at each of these salary schedules, want to invite our partners with each of our labor unions to join in that discussion while we look at it. I think it's really important for there to be a collective review of all of the information, and then explanation of, you know, where we came to those recommended salary schedules with regard to competitiveness, and where there are gaps, where we're falling behind in terms of salary that we're paying for different positions compared to our peers.
I was just gonna say, I appreciate the effort. Always review, obviously, we want to be competitive and fair, and then we look at our budgetary needs at the same time.
And ask for the board's direction on this. This will come next board meeting as an action item for actual adoption.
Thank you.
In the meantime, if any of you have questions, I'm happy to field those.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we're gonna get into some legislative priority overview presented by Director Davis, Legislative Representative, and Jody Ryan, Director of Communications.
Ross Lefale. Good evening, everybody. Just a quick informational report about MSD's legislative process that we're going to work through to develop our priorities for this year. The informational report is included in the
agenda this evening. So at MSD, we're in the process of collecting some data, working with multiple Washington educational groups, PACs, labor partners, surrounding school districts, and we also want to do consultation with tribes on their legislative platforms. There is monitoring of the SFC School Funding Coalition's work, which is advocating for educational funding. And another thing that we would like to do this year is to have an opportunity to gather our stakeholders for input through developing our legislative priorities. That's something that is kind of just in the works. So these are possibilities that I'm bringing forward tonight to our, my board, my fellow board of directors here, and Dr. Burgess. Moving forward, we also want to look at the research that's coming from these different associations, and develop a draft of a set of legislative priorities for our board here to review. And we would like to do that in a work study process in the future, so that we're prepared when it's time for our school boards to have their day on the Hill and be able to go and work with and advocate for Marysville and what our priorities are. So far, what we have emerging is fair and equitable funding, looking at unfunded mandates, funding special education, and transportation. These are some of the vital needs that we need to look at for Marysville School District, potentially in the works, as I already mentioned previously, a legislative roundtable, but we see multiple school districts out there looking to partner together. And so our hope is that potentially we could do this with some of our northern North County school districts. I think there's power in numbers. So if we could look at some of those partnerships and how we can advocate as a whole community kind of in the region, that's something that we want to look at. Jody is going to touch on how some of these things align with our strategic plan.
Thank you, Director Davis. Yes, so this is exciting work. It's also hard work and it's a heavy lift, but as Director Davis talked about, it's going to take all of us, and it really does take a village in this work, especially around the advocacy. And I know there's some folks in our audience, I'm looking around, that will want to be a part of that as we build out these legislative priorities. So this is a long session for the legislature, which is really important. It's key funding time. It's when they're really looking at budgets and where does that money go. So as we get into this and as we make this specific to Marysville School District, we'll want to be looking at our strategic priorities. I brought the book here with me. So when we have an opportunity to meet in a work session, we can really drill down and say, okay, what do we need in Marysville? What aligns with our strategic priorities, our goals, and our key performance outcomes as we move through this work? So it's in stages. This is kind of a overview, and then we want to come back and bring some examples forward for the board to consider, and then sit and just put our heads together, see where that strategic plan alignment lies. There's quite a list here that is on the sheet that you have, but we might have missed some. And we might want to take some of these off and add others that make more sense for our students in Marysville and Tulalip. So exciting work ahead on this. We want to be ready for that day on the Hill. We want that advocacy is a big word here. We need to have all kinds of advocates and ambassadors for our school district in this work. So when we all can work together and carry that same
legislative priority document and go to the Hill and do that advocacy, we have a common voice. So looking forward to working with Director Davis and then the school board and Dr. Burgess as we move forward and our team here.
Thank you both for presenting that to us. Are there any questions from the other two board members? Dr. Burgess, thanks for your work.
Questions so much and look forward to the conversation.
I think I look forward to, kind of building out a plan with other districts too. I feel like that there's lots of power in numbers and I think it would be good to have common voice in some of these priorities that we're gonna be advocating for.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to that. I recently attended a WASA meeting and that was a big focus. And it was on legislative work and how we can come together as a large group. So I think Dr. Burgess, you're going to be hearing more about that as well from the superintendents in the region on how we can collectively have a common voice.
We, so this is gonna result in two things, us adopting what our MSD legislative priorities are, as well as giving us and community members a roadmap to advocate for us whenever they get into their long session. So I guess my question is, do we plan on sending out a survey to the community with maybe a list of priorities and see where Marysville kind of aligns on that priority list?
That's one of the things that we're talking about, yes, to get some of our stakeholder input, but we just weren't sure exactly how we would do that. That's kind of a good idea. I like that idea.
I think we used to use surveys quite a bit, and I don't know if I've seen them as often as I did a couple of years ago, and so I think it's things like this that survey might be a good tool for us to use, before we come to a decision on priorities.
It will be good to hear from our community as well with our parents with kids in schools and how they're impacted. And so I think that will be really helpful information to gather.
In my experience as boards, your work with WASDA in developing common goals for your time on the Hill is essential. Like you alluded to, there is power in numbers, and along the way sometimes individual district priorities don't fit within the framework of the WASDA priorities simply because of there needs to be something done, and if there are too many asks out there, then it waters everything down. So there will be compromise within your own group to try to get something done through the legislative process.
Thank you so much. I think we're looking forward to the work together.
Thank you very much. All right, we're gonna go into follow-up items, work study dates, board meeting dates, and upcoming events. November 4th, 2024 is our next work study and regular session meeting. Prior to that, Thursday, October 30th, again, at 4:30, we'll be hosting interviews for 3 of our board candidates. So you will see the entire board there.
More Halloween costumes.
If you would like to. Other than that, I'm gonna pass it off to the superintendent for superintendent comments.
I just want to share with everyone that today, Dr. Michael and Director Eliza Davis were at the Tulalip Leadership and what an incredible meeting we had about sharing and strengthening our partnership. And this is something that's so important for our district and of course for the Tulalip tribes. And I know that the board is absolutely committed to do that, as am I, and as are the leaders of the Tulalip Nation. So it's exciting to see this from a first time, person, getting a chance to actually interact with leadership there. It's an awesome opportunity to make a difference and, create some lasting, sustainable change, in a meaningful relationship. So it's absolutely wonderful, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. We're gonna move on to board comments. Start with you, Director Harris.
Thanks. I'm just wondering where all the cameras and reporters are tonight, because this is a kind of a meeting I was waiting for. With our students here, formed, with student recognition, with information presented to us, but with people who actually work with it that can tell us how it's affecting them, kind of the boots on the ground level, how they're implementing in the classroom. That's the sort of information that's really helpful to us as a board, to know that the people that are going to be asked to use these programs and are on board with it and want them and see that they're effective. So that's very helpful. So that's this is kind of what I was hoping for when I signed up for this, and this, I think we're finally getting to some normalcy, which feels good. And just as a side note, I want to thank the people out here and people on Zoom or wherever for all the notes of condolence and the messages I got. My father-in-law passed away a couple weeks, so that's why I wasn't here at the meeting. And so I appreciate people that I don't know reaching out to me and saying, hey, been there and things get better. So I appreciate the support of myself and my family. So thank you very much for the community for that.
Well, I also want to thank the Grove group for coming. It certainly set the tone for the meeting tonight, and what a nice meeting. I have to agree with Craig. It's been nice to have a meeting that's focused on students. So hearing from our, young musicians is wonderful. I really appreciate this for optimists. They're not here, but maybe they're still online. It's so important to recognize our students that are doing great things out in our schools, and we have lots of kids that are doing some really good things. And we saw just a few of them tonight, and oh my gosh, hearing some of their resumes, it's surprising they have time to sleep, I also want to thank you, Dr. Burgess, for all that has happened in the last couple of weeks. And some of the things that you're implementing already. I think we all are going to appreciate a little more time on some of those key items coming before the board. And I really appreciate too, school closures is a really tough topic. It's not something I think that anybody is happy that we're facing, but obviously we have some budgetary issues and, and numbers that we need to get to. In order to live within our budgetary needs, but I really appreciate that we've been able to take just a step back and have that conversation with the community. And amongst us board members, I think at some point it'd be great if we can coordinate who's going to be at which meeting so we don't inadvertently trip OPMA requirements and all of those good things. And then I think other than that, again, just appreciate the meeting tonight. I really appreciated hearing all of the work that's happening around Lexia and reading instruction.
Hosla Hale, Eliza Davis, Seedstock. Good evening, everybody. I want to just echo my colleague's sentiment about the Grove Groove, right? That's what they're called?
Yeah.
I could hear them when I was getting out of my car, and it was just a nice sound. And I just want to say that I'm just dating myself a little bit. I know I'm not that old, but Miss Hall was my teacher. She was my choir teacher, Miss Jeanette Hall. And when he mentioned that, I remembered, oh my goodness, she did do marimba. That was almost 30 years ago or something like that I was in the junior high. But it was good to hear those students and just watching them. One of the students was doing this little drumstick flip with his hand, and I just thought it was cool to see them enjoying themselves. And I wanted to take some time to make a little plug for tomorrow night. I know it's our first school closure meeting taking place at the Legacy Commons, but Kristen and I are also going to be meeting at the Marysville Public Library at 6 o'clock with our Hispanic speaking families. For any that want to come and join us, we will have a translator there, and it's just an opportunity for us to have time to meet with our families, hear from them, and ensure that as our board continues to update goals and serve the community, that we are hearing from all stakeholders. So I hope we get some of our stakeholders from our Hispanic community to come and be there with us tomorrow night. Congratulations to Elizabeth Vallejo for her appointment to the Washington Migrant PAC. That's amazing. I think Marysville has a demographic of students that we should be partnering with our families on a regular basis. So I hope this is just, I know we do lots of different events, but I'm talking about from a standpoint of our board and making sure that all voices are heard. So I can, let me get this, the Seroptimus folks spoke about from, I guess one question I had is, this month was Getchell and MG. I wondered if the next 2 months are legacy and heritage students. Just a question for recognition, because I haven't noticed that we've had legacy or heritage students honored from Seroptimus group since I've been here for almost a year now. So just something that I wanted on the record. And Avery Brennan, that didn't get to be here tonight, I just wanted to acknowledge that the presenter from Seroptimus made a comment about Denise. She made a comment about Avery's role and how he had to step up and really fill a role for the football team this year, as they went through a sudden change of coaches leaving, but also they had a large portion of their team also leave to a private school. And so I guess I'm putting this on the record because I feel like that's something that is happening on a regular basis, where private schools are able to take our student athletes without recourse, where public schools don't have that same opportunity to do that. And so this is something that some people might find to be very controversial, but I'm putting it out there because it happens, and there are violations of WIAA that happen that private schools can sometimes get away with, that public schools would not be able to get away with. So Avery stood up for his football team, and I just commend that, because he was somebody who tried to help his team through a change. And so I just wanted to make note of that. And I would like to take Lori up on her offer for an I Read walk. So thank you guys for sticking it out with us tonight. Good work tonight.
I think I'm gonna go first next meeting. Because there really is nothing else that I can share that would be different. I will say, it was amusing watching those kids play those instruments because some of them, that wooden, whatever it is, I don't know what it's called, but the pieces are like an inch wide. And I was watching them and they have to keep their eyes up to watch the conductor or the teacher for cues. And so they're hitting these things with both hands and they're hitting them perfectly, not even looking at them. And I found that to be quite impressive. I don't know how well I would play an instrument like that. And of course, our media folks, I'm glad you're here. I wish you would have shown up 30 minutes earlier to see that. I think that there's a lot of great things like that are happening in the district, and unfortunately, those things get overshadowed by some of the not so great things in the district. But these great things are happening despite some of these negative things, and that's perseverance from our teachers and our students. And so I'm really grateful for them for that, and to come out here and really show their talent and their strength in that area was really cool. So with that, again, I want to thank everybody. This was a late one, 8 o'clock. So I think all of you who are still out here. And again, don't forget, tomorrow we got 2 events going on. And then I believe on Wednesday, we have another school closure meeting. And then another one the following Monday. So a lot of stuff going on in the next 2 weeks. And if you can make it, that's great. I think that's it. With that, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.
Okay.